also a licensed financial advisor holding an MBA. And also, she's been the Clay County Officer of the Year here in Florida. Yes, here in the Sunshine State. Now, she loves to serve people. Yes, she does. She definitely has a heartbeat for individuals. She executes at the highest level. She enjoys making money as well as teaching us how to do so. How can I say that? Well, that is because she is one of our premier educators, yes, here within the Be Your Own Bank movement. Now, we refer to her as the Trade Whisperer, and she is also the creator of the BYOB Cash Out Strategy, in which you will definitely be hearing about later on during this call. And she likes to have a lot of fun in the process because that's what it's all about, having fun while making an impact. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and turn this call over to my business coach and mentor, none other than Miss Tasha M. Dyer. Miss Dyer, are you on the line?
Absolutely, absolutely, I am. And thank you so much, Miss Clayton, for hosting this call. Ladies, and gentlemen, let me officially welcome you to Wealthy Women Wednesday. This is Be Your Own Bank. BYOB is the largest economic empowerment movement in the history of mankind. And so what we're here to do today is really help you remove those financial blinders. Now, before we get started here today, I definitely want to go ahead and thank our host for hosting this call. Now, this is why I wanted you to pay special attention to this, because not only is she an integral part of this movement, and she is having tremendous impact, poised and positioned herself to be in the top 1% of money earners. This is someone who was privy to this information just a year ago. This is someone who is privy to this information that we're sharing with you just a year ago. And most of the times when we do things, we make decisions for our families. We make decisions for our loved ones. We make decisions for putting ourselves in a better position. And so here we are a year later. Not only is she cashing out, which you're going to understand exactly what that means, but not only is she doing that, where she's making those withdrawals from the market, but so is her now 12-year-old son, who began his journey at the age of 11. So this is why this information is so important. This is why the conversation that we're having today is so impactful and so powerful, because of the simple fact that is going to really shift your trajectory in life. It's really going to allow you to begin to press forward. And that is what this is all about. Now, this is Wealthy Women Wednesday, and you're going to understand. So yes, I want to welcome all ladies on the call, but also I know we have some men on the line. But I want you to understand, because this not only impacts us as women, it impacts you all as well, because you are also a part of this world, this economy, but you have a mother, a sister, you have a spouse, you have someone in your life that you care about. And so you also want to pay close attention to what we're sharing with you all this evening. Now, just a little bit about myself before we begin, because it's important for you to know who you're talking to. It's important for you to understand exactly what we're sharing, because somewhere we have a connection. Somewhere we have a very similar foundation. Somewhere we all were on the path of success, but yet we ended up on this call together. Now, that is because we all come from no matter where you're from in the world. I heard you all calling in from all around the world. But no matter where you're calling in from, no matter what your background is, the reality is the simple fact that we were all told the same thing. Now, what that is go to school, get good grades, go to college, and get you one of those good jobs. That is what we were told. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, by now, what we found out is that does not allow us the wealth that we ultimately desire. So just a tad bit about me, so you can understand why this is so important, why we need you to remove your financial blinders, is I come from a family, a single parent household from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And in my household, my mother was terminally ill. Single parent household, mother terminally ill. I am actually the oldest of three. And in this household, what she always shared with us, what she always told me, was to make sure that I understood that my circumstances did not dictate my reality. She also made sure that I understood that success was out there, that all you had to do was want to get up and go get it. She told me that you had to be ready. You needed to be in a position, and when it presented itself, you take advantage and you strike. You make sure you move. You do not allow it to pass you by. And I held on to that. That was my life. That is what was always ingrained in me and my foundation. So ultimately, that initial path that we just talked about, I did attempt to go to college, moved to Georgia. Realized though that was not the best decision for my family. It was just not financially feasible. So I returned home. Now, ultimately, I ended up joining the military. Now, if you know anything about the military, you know that retiring as a field grade officer is not the normal path. But what really pushed me to strive for greater is at the beginning of my career, my mother ultimately transitioned. Now, in this transition, I grabbed a hold to what she always shared with me. I grabbed a hold to what she always told me is that my circumstances did not dictate my reality. What she always told me was that I needed to strive for success, and it was mine. All I had to do was be ready when it presented itself and to make sure that I go out and I achieve it. And so that's what I held on to. And that's what allowed me to retire as a field grade officer. But also I obtained my MBA. But when I retired, I became a licensed financial advisor. So what does that mean to you? That means that I'm the person that you would have sat down with. I'm the person that you would have had a conversation with about your retirement. I'm the person that you would have had a conversation with about your future. But yet what I found is that so many individuals blindly trust. They blindly trust. And the reality is it's not because of the advisor, it's because of our system, is that so many individuals are not financially feasible and for not ready to retire when that time rolls around. Now, I made a shift and I made a transition because I knew that there was something else out there. I knew that there was something more out there. I knew for a fact that there was more. And so ultimately, what ended up happening is I had a conversation. Success presented itself. I had a conversation, and the conversation I had was with our visionary. Yes, our visionary of this movement. We're talking about the gentleman that is behind this, Mr. Gerald D. Rogers. Now, he has a background in investment banking, and he has 25 years experience. But when we sat down and we had this conversation, it really removed blinders. It really showed me what I knew was out there, but I just didn't know it was right there. And so I got excited. I got excited about this movement. I got excited about what we can do and the impact we can have around the world. And that's ultimately why I'm here having this conversation. Now, in this conversation, he asked me a few questions, and I'm going to ask you those questions. Now, before you join this call here today, you should have had an opportunity to join our Telegram community. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because there are so many individuals that are having success. There are so many individuals who are just like you and just like our host at one point, who literally had no idea that this information existed, but now are having the success that they desire. And you see, when you're in that chat and you see that 777, that is that success. That is someone making a withdrawal from the market. You also should have had an opportunity to visit our website, beyourownbankmovement.com. And on this website, you would have seen a 2-minute video that really gives you a foundation of the conversation that we're about to have. So now that you know that you're ready, now that we know we're prepared for this conversation, the questions. Now, as I speak today, as I talk to you, because it's a conversation, but as we have this conversation, what I really want you to grab a hold is I want this in your mind. I want these questions pressing. I want you to really think about this as we have this conversation, because you're going to understand why this movement is called Be Your Own Bank, because we do mean literally. So out of the past 5 to 10 years, out of all the money that's flowed through your personal bank account, how much has your bank actually paid you for using your own money? I would say, don't worry, I'll wait, but I already know the answer. And you see, that's nothing or almost nothing, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. So what I want to know now is, how does that make you feel? Well, I already know not quite good, because someone else is using your money to make a return on investment for themselves. Well, you see, I want you to shift your energy because I already know where it is. I want you to shift your energy because we're going to show you exactly how you can do that. And understand we're not anti-bank, but we are pro your household. And then that last question is, if you had a way to learn a skill set to do exactly what the bank is doing with your money, would you take advantage of it? Well, the answer is absolutely, because I already know you're too intelligent. The person that invited you out to today's call knows that you're too intelligent to allow this information to pass you by. So where do you begin? What does it mean? Well, we begin right here with I Am Educated. See, I Am Mastery Academy has a phenomenal platform where the educational process begins. And what ultimately happens is that learning is going to be simplified. You see, you're going to learn how to master the markets. You're going to learn about real wealth and freedom. And that's where it begins. And I want you to understand how important it is, because our parents were right. They told us to be educated. Our parents were absolutely correct. They told us we needed to be educated. But my question is what are you being educated upon? Because we put a lot of emphasis on education, but at what point do we stop and educate ourselves on our money? Well, you see, now it's time to make that shift and that transition. And where you ultimately are going to begin, now that you know that you must do something, the reality is now we need to identify where we are. We need to understand who we are. And you see, in order for us to make a change, in order for us to just launch into our destiny, we need to know. And you see, right here in this quadrant, no matter where we have this conversation, no matter where we're talking around the world, there are really only 4 ways to make money. You see, 60% of us work for someone else, 35% for yourself, 4% are business owners, and 1% have an investor mindset. Now, the question is, where do you fall? You see, because the reality is what that means is 95%, yes, 95% are fighting for 5% of the wealth. And 5% actually control 95% of the wealth. Now, that's not because of anything that someone else is doing. It's because of what we didn't know and what we're not doing. And so now it's here to make a shift. And this is why the shift is so important. You see, right now, there's a fight and there's a push for $15 an hour. And I really want to break that down and really help you understand the narrative behind that. Are you aware that $15 is really only 25 cents a minute? Are you aware of that? And then also, when I started working, minimum wage was $3.85. So we know it is not $3.85 anymore. We know it's more than that. But at what point has minimum wage increase ever created the lifestyle that you desire? You see, once again, ladies and gentlemen, when you know better, you do better. So ultimately, what if there was another way? You see, over this past year, many individuals within this pandemic, many individuals impacted have asked themselves, what if there is another way? What if things ultimately could be different? Well, you see, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, it can. But you see, it begins with you. It is ultimately an inside out job. And so knowing that, I'm going to ask you, because your success is already yours. Your success is already on the inside of you. What you dream and desire of, you already have. You just have to speak life over yourself. So would you be your best friend? The things that you speak to yourself, the way you talk to yourself, would you ultimately allow someone else in your space, in your circle, to speak to you that way? Well, I already know the answer is yes or no. And so knowing that, this is where we're going to help you with Be Your Own Bank make that shift, because your success is ultimately housed on the inside. So that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, our story is just that simple. We're going to empower you, help you build a better life. And ultimately, this is why so many individuals are having the success that they desire. And this is where it begins. That's our story. It's an inside out job. So that change that you're looking for is already housed on the inside of you. The success and the dreams that you have, you see, you have those dreams, you have those desires. And what we do is help you cultivate that. And this is why so many individuals are economically unbothered. How would you feel? Ask yourself, because I know those questions are still running around in the back of your mind. I know those questions are still running around in the back, the ones I asked you in the beginning. So how would you feel if you had total control over your life, your movements, everything that you ultimately desired to do? Well, you can, you will. And this is where it starts. See, we say hidden in plain sight, but let me explain to you why. Because we operate in the largest financial market in the world, which is the exchange markets. And this is actually happening all around us. Now I'm gonna ask you, have you heard of them? So let me break this down and let me put this in perspective. Because ultimately, why do I say it's hidden in plain sight, but you do know about it? Because we're on this call talking about wealth and freedom. So we know that there is a currency involved. We know that every country has a currency. And what we also know is goods and services are moved from one country to another. This is ultimately what's happening around the world. So we know this, but what you might not have known is that you also have the opportunity to profit on this market the exact way the banks do. So let me ask you, do you know how this operates? Because it's operating in a trillion. And you see, we think thousands, we know thousands. We think millions, we even talk billions. But have you ever really thought about a trillion? So we're talking about a trillion, not a year, not a month, not a week, but I'm talking about each and every single day. That's how much currency is actually moving. And understand it's called currency because it's forever moving. And so currency flows, and it flows in the amount of 12 zeros. That's what a trillion is each and every single day. And it's actually flowing at $6.6 trillion a day. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it ultimately begins for you. Now, this market is actually open 24 hours, 5 days a week. So what does that mean? That means that no matter what, you see, because as women, we are bridge builders, we're connectors, we are influencers, we're people who are ultimately always on the go. And so ultimately what that means and what that says is the reality is that this market is always available. This market is always here. This market is always available for us to participate in. And that is 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And this market you can exchange in without owning any physical money. Now, I know you were told by someone like myself, someone with my credentials, that you needed to buy, hold, and pray, which means that you needed to buy something, you needed to pray that it rises in value, and they're going to hold it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And you see, why do we sign up for that program? Why is that the normal program? Why is that what we always are taught to do? Because you see, they're using our money. They're using it, but yet we can't touch it without being penalized. And even right now, this is so important, right? This education is so important because ultimately what's going to happen right now, Facebook is so many individuals' financial advisor. The skill set that you're ultimately about to learn, the skill set that you are about to, when you say, yes, I am ready to become my own bank, is even going to help you when you remove the person with my credentials, the person where you can just download an app without believing that we need education. You see, ultimately, that education is so ultimately important. So let me welcome you. Let me welcome you to the foreign exchange market. But yet there's another market. And let's talk about this evolution right now. Let's talk about this evolution of currency. You see, right now, we're talking about setting the stage, and that's ultimately what's happening. And so you have had to live under a rock. You have had to be hiding in order to not have heard about cryptocurrency right now. You might not know how it operates, but understand that it's there. You've heard of it, and that's the market we're talking about. But one thing I do know, one thing I know for sure is that success leaves clues. And so when you have someone with the likes of an Oprah Winfrey, someone who literally needs no introduction, someone who is a household name, took $100 million and invested it into a Bitcoin platform. Our government, yes, ours, when most individuals were waiting on that first stimulus bill, our government literally had an HR bill attached to that where they now can create cryptocurrency. But also, you have the likes of Elon Musk. And you see, Elon Musk literally, he also invested $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. Now, in this transaction, he also is allowing you to purchase a Tesla with cryptocurrency. So now success leaves clues. So when we talk about a global form of payment, when we talk about an evolution that's happening, when we talk about a transition, I mean, even the city of Miami is now making it to where their employees can be paid in Bitcoin. Or let's talk about Visa, MasterCard, who is also adapting their platform to where you can also participate and pay in cryptocurrency. So what am I speaking? What am I saying? You can also trade this without owning any physical money. You can also trade this without owning any physical money. So that is definitely something to get excited about. That is something for you to position yourselves, because once again, success leaves clues. So let me officially welcome you. Let me welcome you to digital currencies. But also, see, we live in a digital space now. If we didn't learn anything over the last year, the one thing that we did learn is that now everything is digital. The one thing that we did learn is that everything we can do from the comfort of our home. And so now you have the opportunity to actually learn and earn on the go and stay connected. And then also, there are multiple strategies that you're housed. There are multiple tools. Each one of these boxes represents success, but there is one tool in particular that I want to highlight. And the tool I want to highlight is called the Vibrata. Now, this is the premier tool for our company. And with this being the premier tool, understand the power in your hands to where you literally have the power to become your own bank. And so our visionary, Mr. Gerald D. Rogers, is actually the spokesperson for this tool. His 25 plus years in investment banking, as well as the fact that this tool was vetted by a big bank. So now you know what's comparable and what you have at your hands on and what you have access to is actually comparable to that. And then inside of this tool is a strategy called the BYOB Cash Out Strategy. Now, this is a strategy I created, and it's actually back tested for an entire year. And it's at 92% accuracy. So yes, the individuals that hosted this call, so many other people are having success. This is what they're utilizing. And yet I get excited because some individuals are actually exceeding that 92% accuracy rate. So isn't it time for you to understand that you can also cash out and you can also participate in the same market? And see, our parents told us education was important. You see, so that foundation that we share is ultimately so important. So you will begin your journey to learn how to cash out in our Foreign Exchange Mastery Academy. You also have access to our High Frequency Forex Mastery Academy, and also digital currency. So you'll be able to cash out utilizing the BYOB Cash Out Strategy with each one of these platforms. And then you have access to over 100 plus full-time educators, because yes, I am actually an educator, the creator of the strategy, but with the Be Your Own Bank movement, we also have other phenomenal educators that also allow you to hone in and specialize on that skill that you desire. So regardless of what you like to trade, which one is going to be your favorite? Well, I tell you, you're in a position to win, because we do over 40 calls a month. Hear me clearly. We do over 40 calls a month. And with these calls, it's ultimately positioning you to be in success. So we're going to guide you through the process. You also have an opportunity to learn from the best. Now, this is exciting because yes, we have a gentleman with a PhD in finance and economics. He's been a consultant, a CFO, and an educator. Now, see, I don't know about you, but that's just something I never wanted to do. But to have the opportunity to learn from someone with that background puts you in a position to win. And then the mentorship, I already mentioned our visionary. Well, mentorship is what he does. And so investment banking background, also a published author, business owner, phenomenal business owner, commercial real estate, mortgage lending. But with that mentorship, he's already helped over 30,000 people obtain their financial freedom. Now, what's important and where does that mean for you? You see, you don't have to have a financial background. You don't have to have any of that. But to be able to learn from individuals that really have your success in mind, that actually have the background, that are willing to pour and feed into you, this is why you're in a position to win here today. And when we say 2 million families financially educated and impacted, understand that we mean it. Because here we are, this is what we do. You see, we're going to ensure that individuals around the world are impacted. Individuals around the world understand just how important this information is. We're so serious about your financial blinders being removed. And so what we've done is we've taken this to the airwaves. And so when doing so, we partner with the likes of a Bishop Harold Rawlinson. Now, Bishop Rawlinson is well known in the faith community, and he's actually traveled the world. But also understand and hear me clearly that he is a 7-figure earner. So understanding once again that success leaves clues, Do you see the trend? Do you see the path? Do you grasp it? Can you see it? And so understanding all of that right here, this is why we partner with him to take this to the airwaves. And in our book, Be Your Own Bank, Hidden in Plain Sight, our book we wrote for you to remove those financial blinders. So now I know your question. I know you're excited because you want to know, how do you get started? How can you become your own bank? How can I cash out? How can you cash out? How can you, a year from now, take a bank anniversary? How can you, in 1 year, shift and position your life? Well, it's really quite simple. You see, in our entire life, we've been geared and we've been molded to go to a college and a university. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we believe in education, understand that what we do up front is they require all of our tuition. And then monthly, nothing happens. What happens is in 4+ years, not a year, but 4+ years is when you might get your return on investment. So education is important. But what I Am Mastery Academy has done is put you in a winning position from the very beginning. So your tuition is broken down. Your tuition is not due all up front. What it is it allows you to break it down monthly, so you have the opportunity to already receive a return on investment when your monthly rolls around. So what does that mean for you today? What that means is today, your investment is $325. Yes, and you're gonna have access to every tool that you see. You're going to have access to every single thing that the Academy offers. And then monthly, we're talking about $274.95. Yes, that is $9.16 a day. So what does that mean? That's the profit that I have in order. So you see how it's different than your traditional universities and community colleges, because now you can be in profit and you're winning and you're learning a skill set that's going to shift your life. I'm excited. But let me just go ahead and say this right now. Because if $325 gave you any qualms, if it turned your stomach, if it made you feel any way, then this is something that you must do. Because anytime you make a decision, it should never be from a financial perspective. Something in your life has to shift and has to change. So let me ask you this question. What was going on in your life over the past 12 months? What happened last year? You see, I'm going to reference back because I love bank anniversaries. And what we want to do is position you to actually have one. So a year ago, nobody knew that we were going to have a pandemic. This was not on anybody's to-do list. But you see successful people make decisions, and there's no such thing as the right time. There is no such thing as the perfect time, because a decision was made, instead of life happening, instead of being in that position, what happens is ultimately you shifted things and you happen to life. That is what that means about making a decision to put you and your family on the other side of money. And then think about what's going to transpire in your life over the next 12 months. Think about, is something going to change if you don't change? This is why this is ultimately so important. So this is why today this is a must do. And then you have the option, and hear me clearly, it is an option. You have the option to become an independent business owner. Now, what does that mean? Because it's a can do, not a must do, but it is a should do. And that is because you know someone. That is because someone in your sphere of influence. That is because someone you love still has on their financial blinders. And also, we want to protect our families. We want to protect the people that we care about, because in no way, shape, form, or fashion should social media be our financial advisors. Should we be receiving advice from someone on social media that has no knowledge or basis or no educational foundation? And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is why this is important, because right now it's a buzz. Right now, people are hearing about it. And wouldn't it be better if they heard it from you? That's why that's important. And there's a nice referral program attached to that as well if you make that decision. But this is why we have this call specifically for the ladies. This is why we are talking about your wife, your spouse, your mother, your children, or even you, ladies. It is because this was our statistics. Why must we create our own value? Take a look at this. Just take a look. Equal pay is non-existent. Statistically, equal pay will never happen. Not for us, it's not going to happen. And so just like I talked about minimum wage, at what point do we do something different when we know that this circle is going to keep spinning and nothing is going to shift? So in our lifetime, that's the tool making a noise, but in our lifetime, equal pay. And with this pandemic, women are literally one of the heaviest hit communities that was hit by this pandemic. So isn't it time? Isn't it time for us to create our own value? Isn't it time for us to make a shift? Isn't it time for us to be our own bank? And then when you add the statistic that women make up 40% of the bread earners. So wait a minute, you mean to tell me that I'm required to do less? I'm required to do more. I'm required to do more with less, and that will never shift unless I do. It will never shift unless I change. And understand, if you pick up a retirement guide right now, see, we're talking about you taking control. We're talking about you changing the narrative. And if you pick up a retirement guide right now, what it's going to tell you is at the age of 65, when you think you're going to kick your feet up, when you think it's time to retire, that ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, that is when you need a side hustle. So I don't know. I would rather have mine now. I would rather make that shift today. I would rather be in control now and not wait when I have to look back, not wait when I wish I shoulda, coulda, because you have to work until the day you die. You see, this is why we are so passionate and so adamant about this information. Now, how do I know you'll be successful? Because all you have to do is plug in. Be Your Own Bank has 100% success system. That is what we have, 100%. You heard me, over 40 calls a month, over. And so it's not predicated upon the person that invited you out. All you have to do is plug into the system. That's how lamps work, right? When you plug it into the power source, ultimately it's going, you get to win, it's going to work, the light shines. And so that's what we're here to do, is assist you in ensuring that you allow yours. So we're about to close out. But as we close out, I want you to take a look at this, because there were a few questions that I asked you at the beginning of this. There were a few questions that I asked you at the beginning of this conversation. Now, ultimately, as you take a look at this, these banks are household names. So see, I told you, when we say be your own bank, we mean literally. These banks are household names. Yes, your Wells Fargo's, your JP Morgan, your Citibank. These are banks that we know about. And knowing that we know about these banks, knowing that we see them, look at this. Banks are paying anywhere from $120,000 to over $300,000 a year for one person to trade your money. But here's the caveat. It's a department. There is no such thing as one person trading for the entire Citibank organization or the entire Wells Fargo. So there are departments. So imagine if they're paying every person in a department anywhere from $120,000 to over $300,000 a year. What is the return on investment? Now let's put this in perspective for your family, because I asked you those questions. Out of all the money that's flowed through your personal bank account, just look at the last 5 to 10 years. How much has your bank actually paid you for using your money? I'm gonna pause so you can think about that. Now, how does that make you feel? I already know it doesn't make you feel good, because now you get it, now you see it. But the reality is we're not anti-bank, we're just pro your household. So this is why this shift is so important. This is why your decision is so important, because now your financial blinders are removed. And then that last question is, if there was a way to learn a skill set to do exactly what the banks are doing with your money, would you take advantage of it? Well, I know the answer is absolutely. You see, because the academies that you have access to today, as soon as you get enrolled, is your foreign exchange, right? That's the academy. Options, that's the academy. So you have academies that actually are the job titles that the banks have. So just imagine now that your financial blinders are removed. Just imagine you being able to participate in the largest financial market in the world. And just imagine you now literally becoming your own bank. So ladies and gentlemen, on this line, let me officially welcome you to the family. Let me welcome you to your future and to the best decision. So that way, next year, this time, you can celebrate as well. You celebrate your own bank anniversary, because when we say be your own bank, we mean literally. So let me officially welcome you to the call. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna turn this back over to our host, who will give you some further instructions. Miss Clayton, are you there?
Yes, Miss Dyer, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and this call is officially yours.
Awesome, awesome. So ladies, and gentlemen, you should be excited. You definitely should be. I mean, you literally have been given 100% of the information that you need in order to become successful and place you and those whom you know, love, and care about on the other side of money. So what's next? Well, first, you definitely want to get back with the individual whom invited you to the call. And you simply need to thank them. You need to thank them because they definitely thought so much about you to expose you to this information. Next, you are going to enroll. Yes, you are going to enroll into the academy tonight to start your journey. And you'll also ensure with that individual that you've been added to that Telegram chat. In that Telegram chat, you're going to see the daily successes of individuals all around the world that are cashing out and seeing success in the markets on a consistent basis. And then you are going to join us tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for a profit call. Yes, on this same line, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning, in which the Trade Whisperer herself will take us live into the markets to profit and give us training while we are trading. So everyone on this call, ladies, and gentlemen, I will officially like to welcome you to the Be Your Own Bank movement, and this will officially conclude the call.